We have Dr. Nwokolo. He's a global affairs analyst and managing partner at Next Year. He's joining us now. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Africa has the youngest population, but the oldest leaders who want to rule for as long as they live. What do you think is giving power to this sit-tightism and sit-tight leaders in Africa?
I mean, a lot of things are giving tight to this, but if we look at what we call our regional blocks, both the AU at the continental level and the ECOWAS at the sub-regional level, the question is, are we actually doing what, are they doing what actually they should be doing? The answer is no. So even where you have the AU, for instance, in ECOWAS, where you have the ECOWAS Commission trying to do what it should do, but the way ECOWAS Commission is designed is such that the heads of the states of these West African states have to accede to most of the issues. So the question is, we have this rage of civilian coups in most African countries. So who is going to checkmate who? Right. So in most of these places, you see that elections are not even what it should be. So a situation where the constitution is upheld in a manner where it's actually hollow, it doesn't produce what it should, it becomes very difficult, right? So they go to an election, somebody wins with almost 80% of the election. Or before the election, he walks through either the state assembly or the national assembly to either ban people who could run election against him or her, and whichever way, to make sure that he stands out to be the sole candidate or whatever. You could see that in Rwanda, in Uganda, in Equatorial Guinea, and this is the rage going to Africa, and democracy is receding by the day.
Okay, so I mean, when you fault elections, but these elections keep happening, are you then saying that, or have we mistaken holding elections making a country democratic? Are we equating elections to democracy? Is that the problem? Because these rituals continue to happen in these countries we are discussing today, Cameroon, Ivory Coast. They keep going to the polls, but the same people keep emerging. Can we still call them democracies? Bottom line, my question here.
No, they're not.
And then when you talk about the peer review, in 2003, the AU peer review mechanism was established, you know, to promote good governance, democracy, rule of law, and political stability. What has happened to that mechanism itself?
First of all, the peer review mechanism is not even mandatory.
Right.
It's on the president of the country to want to join or not. Even where he does, it could still, the reports could still be written, and the person will decide not to do anything or not even accept it.
And nothing happens.
Yeah, nothing happens.
Right.
So you find out that the spirit of the constitution lies on whoever is there to want to execute it or not. So when you look at most of the instrument of AU and the instrument of ECOWAS and most of our sub-regional blocks, they're just hollow and nothing.
And right by, you know, the Sahel, we've seen a string of coups happening there where they have justified failed democracies as why the military has left the barracks to come back to power. We have this situation happening in Central Africa. Cameroon is one of the strongest economies in Central Africa, if not the strongest. But this is happening for over 4 decades. Some people have not known any President Bobia since they were born. Would the coups in Sahel be justified by such acts in Central Africa at the moment?
Well, I lived under military regime, so in my head, so my head and my heart are going to play two.
Where exactly, just to be clear? In Nigeria, or what do you mean? When you say you lived under...
Yeah, well, from...
Just to be clear on that.
Well, from 1983, I was 10, right?
Okay.
So I
in Nigeria?
In Nigeria, I lived
Okay.
under, so I understand. But to a young boy who is in Nigeria, who sees what is happening in Burkina Faso, whether makeup or truth, is idealizing what is happening in those countries He wants those kind of place where you have this Thomas Sankara kind of president who will come, eradicate everything, gets okay, right? So that's what you're saying. To be very honest, the civilians are not making it easy for us to make those arguments against military regime. Because if you have civilian coups going on where people are making constitutional amendments to, I mean, to a year to an election you're not supposed to recontest, you're changing the constitution. It's making it difficult for those of us who understand democracy and good governance to make those arguments. But the issue still remains that the worst democracy is still better than a military regime.
As we continue to say in this part. Okay, so like you made a point earlier that democracy is receding in Africa. And it's not just military rule we're talking about. We're talking about civilians who have stayed in power over 42 years. I mean, in the case of Cameroon, for example, he's the oldest leader in the world at the age of 92. Ouattara is 83. Cote d'Ivoire, Biya, 92. Museveni of Uganda is 80, almost 40 years in power. So are there signs that we should begin to look out for that indicate that a leader may be tending towards sit-tightism?
So
e.g., maybe dictatorial tendencies, constitutional amendments, suspension of rule of law and all of that. How can the people push back?
So for me, I want to be honest here.
Right.
I am not against having a president who is old. After all, how old is President Trump, right? I am against someone changing the constitution to still stay in power. So at 90, you contest an election and win free, fair.
It's fine.
No, it's fine.
Right.
But if you change the constitution to be able to win, I have an issue with that.
Or even rig the election. Right.
It's amazing how
my point, I asked the question, let me land with this, please. I mean, what are the signs? Are there signs that countries like Nigeria can, look out for and ensure that it doesn't happen in Nigeria? Only recently we heard from a top lawyer, a senior advocate of Nigeria, saying, look, let's stop this idea of trying to amend the constitution. Let's stop it. Let's go for a referendum. It can begin to run from 2031. Other countries that haven't found themselves in this situation, what can they do to ensure that they don't have, such sit-tight leaders?
Yeah, first you start by having a credible and strong opposition. That's where you start. So where countries start tending towards one-partyism is something I am against. I mean, sorry for our politicians who are watching me, where everybody is moving towards one party is something I have a kind of fears about, because it becomes easier for people to go to the National Assembly or to whatever legislative house to be able to change their constitution to favor a sitting president. You could see what happened in Uganda. You can see what happened in Rwanda. So if you have strong, credible opposition, if you have where the party in power does not muzzle out all the opposition, it becomes easier for people to stand up and say, no, you cannot change the constitution.
All right, Dr. Nwokolo, we are wrapping up, and let me take you back to Cameroon specifically, because we were watching that space. The major opposition leader who declared himself the winner, Shiroma, has refused to concede defeat. He's told the young people to go out, and they are indeed out from Douala to Yaoundé. You find them protesting despite the response by the security forces. In your own opinion, is this just a post-election frustration or the start of a political shift in Cameroon? What do you think is happening?
I think I would take the latter.
Okay.
Reasons being that this is a country where the average population is about 20, right? So they are pushing towards what they think is a stolen mandate, and it might be the right way to go. Okay. And you might see such a thing repeating itself across Africa. We saw what might happen in Madagascar. With the youth Togo is already breeding somehow.
Youth uprising, yes, indeed. We'll have to say thank you very much. Dr. Nwokolo is international affairs analyst,
global affairs analyst, and
managing partner next year. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.